Right now, the sun is rising on day 6 of the U.S. and Israel's war against Iran, which is now expanding across the region. Today, NATO shot down a missile that was headed for Turkey. Iran has been targeting countries that host American military facilities, and an air base in southern Turkey has a U.S. Air Force presence. Of course, an attack on a NATO country could trigger the alliance's mutual defense clause and bring a lot more countries into this war. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says an American submarine sank an Iranian warship using a torpedo off Sri Lanka. It is the first time an American sub launched a torpedo in combat and hit a ship since World War II. 180 people were believed to be on board the Iranian ship. 32 have reportedly been rescued. And then the war is not just expanding outward across the Middle East. Today, Hegseth and the chairman of Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, made it clear that the U.S. will be going deeper into Iran.
We will now begin to expand inland, striking progressively deeper into Iranian territory and creating additional freedom of maneuver for U.S. forces.
As President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating.
Chairman Kane also addressed the worries that the U.S. is depleting its munitions supply.
I know there have been a lot of questions about munitions. We have sufficient precision munitions for the task at hand, both on the offense and defense. But I want to tell you, teammates, as a matter of practice, I don't want to be talking about quantities. And I know there's been a great debate about that, and I appreciate the interest, but just know that we consider that an operational security matter.
But the administration is gathering defense contractors at the White House on Friday to talk about increasing the production of munitions. That is according to a White House official. And this afternoon, at an event about the electric cost of data centers, the president talked about how this war was going.
We're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say. Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15. And we're going to continue to do well. I think if we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible. Maybe the biggest factor was the rebuilding of the military in my first term. And then the B-2s hit the, and I use the word obliterate because it really was, a complete obliteration of their nuclear potential. And that set them back very, very seriously. If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon.
With that, let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel tonight. Jeff Mason joins us, Washington correspondent and senior member of the White House and politics team at Bloomberg. Ivo Dodler, former U.S. ambassador to NATO. He is now a senior fellow at the Harvard Belfer Center. And Paul Rieckhoff joins us, founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America and host of the Independent Americans podcast. Jeff, walk us through this, because we are hearing more declarations from this administration. President Trump giving himself a 15 on a 1 to 10 scale. But at the same time, this conflict is now spreading. It's involving NATO. Behind the scenes, is this administration as confident as the president is at that podium?
Well, it's a fair question. I think that the answer to that is yes. I mean, that doesn't mean there aren't some divisions within the administration or some questions, but I think so far the attitude is very much in line with the confidence that President Trump is displaying there. I do think it's important to note, though, as someone who's covered the president for a long time, that this is not a man who's going to come out and say, actually, things aren't going the way we wanted. I mean, he will say that we're ahead of schedule even when there's not a schedule. I mean, he said that recently about the ballroom being ahead of schedule when technically they haven't gotten approval yet to construct the ballroom. I'm not comparing the ballroom to Iran, but just in terms of the yes. verbal phrases that the president employs when describing an operation, be it something as big as a war or something as different or mundane as a construction project back in the United States, at least comparatively mundane. So confidence is what he likes to exude, and he's certainly doing that about this operation because I think he sees it so far as a success.
Well, 2 days ago, I talked to Wall Street sources that are close to the president who said this thing is going to be over like that. They predicted it would be over this Friday, 2 days from now. And now we've got the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, saying this is just the beginning as they move deeper into Iran. What is your current evaluation of the situation we're in?
Those guys you talked to probably didn't serve in combat.
Correct.
The reality is that the lid is off now. I mean,
what does that mean?
They've talked about striking Iran for a long time. And there's this idea that it can be contained. It's not contained. It's a regional war now. Our allies are being hit. Multiple NATO allies are being threatened. Turkey could get involved. And I think there's a chicken hawk perspective that war is going to be easy. War is going to be quick. They came out of Venezuela with a head full of steam thinking that they could do this without American casualties. But the reality is things go sideways. And this is the beginning of what could be a very long and protracted war. But it's also the beginning of the next phase, potentially beyond Iran. Because he's hit 8 other countries in the last year. And he continues to be all gas, no brakes, nothing slowing him down. They're doing a War Powers Act vote 4 or 5 days after he goes to war. And last night he hit Ecuador. He's striking Ecuador. He's talking about striking Cuba and other places. So this is a new normal where Trump is doing whatever he wants and throwing the middle finger up to Congress and everyone else. And the real question, I think, especially for the Senate and for Congress, is what are you going to do to stop him or slow him down if he wants to go further, like put boots on the ground? Because it looks like he will put boots on the ground and they'll tweet about it and they'll do press conferences and he'll just keep going.
Damn. Ivo, the president reportedly is weighing backing militias within Iran to overthrow the regime. Could that work? How risky is it?
Well, no, it couldn't work. Certainly not the Kurdish militias. The Kurds have a very long history of relying on the United States, and the United States has a very long history of, frankly, screwing the Kurds. The United States just walked away from the Syrian Kurds 2 weeks ago. Those are the same Kurds that we helped and they helped us in dealing with ISIS, both in Iraq, but particularly in Syria. So the whole problem here is that we don't know what it is that we're trying to do. What's the goal here? Are we trying to change the regime, in which case air power is never going to be enough? You can't change a regime just by bombing them. Certainly not this regime, which is pretty entrenched and is willing to do whatever it needs to do in order to survive. Is it to get after the nuclear program just as you open up? The president said it was obliterated. So what are we trying to do there? Are we trying to destroy their missile force? Well, that would be great, except much of it is underground, and it's going to take probably ground forces to even go after that. That's the fundamental issue here. We're now 6 days into war, and no one knows why we're doing this.
Yikes. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she was asked about the president's plan for Iran after the war, and I want to share just a bit of what she said.
Has the president considered at all kind of how he views a U.S. role, if any, in Iran post-conflict?
I think it's something the president is actively considering and discussing with his advisors and his national security team. But again, right now, the focus, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, is on ensuring the quick and effective success of Operation Epic Fury.
Okay, so Jeff, it sounds like she's trying to separate what's happening now and what comes next, but doesn't success in Iran completely depend on what happens to the country after the war?
Well, it's also part of the objective that he addressed in the initial video when he talked about encouraging the people of Iran to take over their government, that he was giving them that opportunity through this strike. How does that work? Who does he think is going to lead that effort? And besides taking out the Ayatollah, what systems will be in place? What additional structures will be put into place and to help the people of Iran do that? It doesn't seem like, based on that answer and based on what we've seen so far, that has been the focus at all of the president's thinking. It doesn't mean that hasn't crossed his mind, but they're certainly focused primarily on the military strikes right now and not on what happens once this is done.
Critics argue the document release has been chaotic, pointing to mistaken redactions, files being published and then withdrawn, and concerns that sensitive information about victims or witnesses may have been mishandled. The second issue involves the substance of the investigation. Many observers continue to question why more individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein have not faced charges, and whether prosecutors fully pursued all potential leads. Adding to the complexity is the fact that some of the prosecutors involved in the original investigation are no longer in their roles, making it harder to clarify how key decisions were made. For now, attention is turning to the expected release of thousands of additional files in the coming days. Whether those documents provide new answers or raise even more questions could determine the next phase of one of the most controversial investigations in recent years. A new wave of scrutiny is building around the federal government's handling of the Epstein investigation, as the Department of Justice prepares to release yet another batch of documents tied to the case. According to officials, the DOJ is responding to mounting pressure after reports suggested that some materials may have been withheld during the initial disclosure process. The department says the scale of the operation, reviewing tens of thousands of records under tight deadlines, made errors possible. If documents were improperly marked or excluded, officials say they will now be made public in the next release. But the issue has quickly escalated beyond a simple administrative mistake. Lawmakers in Congress are demanding answers, and the pressure is coming from both sides of the political aisle. A House committee has issued a subpoena requiring Attorney General Pam Bondi to testify under oath about how the Justice Department handled the document review. Notably, the move gained support from several Republicans, despite resistance from the committee's chairman, highlighting rare bipartisan frustration over the handling of the case. Transparency concerns intensified even further when reports revealed that more than 40,000 Epstein-related files are currently missing from the Department of Justice website. The discovery has sparked widespread speculation about what might be contained in those documents and whether the public is seeing the full record. Some lawmakers are warning that the issue could go far beyond missing uploads. Congressman Ro Khanna raised the possibility that documents might exist but have been heavily redacted or altered. If that were proven to be the case, he says it could constitute a serious criminal offense. Legal experts say the controversy now revolves around two separate but equally important questions. First is the process itself.